Every year, thousands of expats and Thais alike descend on the Plonchit Fair. Well, this year is going to be no different, and we'll get a look behind the scenes at all the preparations and also some interesting history about the woman who's behind it all. For those who know of the Plonchit Fair, you most certainly know my guest today. I'd like to introduce very nicely, Miss Carolyn Tarrant.
Morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, very well.
Well, you've been in Thailand quite a long time. You've been with the Plonchit Fair quite a long time.
I'm very young at heart. Yes, I've been here 34 years this month, and I've been doing the fair for 33 of them.
Well, looking for the benefit of our viewers who may not know the history behind the Plonchit Fair, it's been here very long, before you.
Oh, long before. It started after the war. I gather the Japanese troops, as they were stationed at the British Club, and they moved out after the war, and to get things going, I think the British ladies all decided to have a sort of cake stall, that sort of thing, a little bit of a fairground, and then it grew. It became popular. It moved into the British Embassy, and they moved me out when we had the September the 11th bombings, but until then it was almost 40 years there. The first fair in the embassy was in 1957.
Wow.
So a long time.
Well, and then since then, especially in the recent years, obviously we've had to deal with all sorts of political and weather problems, obviously. So it's moved around a little.
Oh, we've had some interesting years. One of the most was a fire at Central, the big fire at Central, which almost burned down the embassy. But it was very conveniently in the week, and so the Saturday of the fair followed. And we had something like 22,000 people at the fair, because it was a very good vantage point from the British Embassy. We've been flooded out of Sanam Surpa. We've lost Father Christmas a few times. We've had some interesting years.
Well, what's the whole goal of this fair? What's the theme, as it were?
The whole goal of the fair is to raise money for Thai charities, but in the nicest possible way. We don't go along and rattle a tin and say, support this project or give us money. The volunteers that we have, and at the fair time there's about 2,000, they're giving of their time to make an enjoyable fun fair so that we earn the charity money with a day's enjoyment for a whole family. And it's a very pleasant day out. The family all enjoy it. The volunteers work quite hard, and it's very rewarding. It's much better. It enables us for the rest of the year, and that's the nice part about it, is spending the money on the different projects, mostly upcountry.
Well, for those who have had the chance to visit the fair, I know that they've had a wonderful time. I've actually gone to it a couple times myself. This year, what are the dates?
24th of November. It's at 10 o'clock, and it's for the second year now going to be out at Patana School, who kindly hosted us within 10 days last year when we had to move. The advantage at Patana is good in that you can go on the SkyTrain. Although it seems a little way out, the SkyTrain in the school have 20 shuttle buses ready to ferry everybody backwards and forwards. Or if you can drive, there's a huge car park. The embassy sometimes is a little difficult. I think we used to have to fight Central. We used to fill their car park up with fairgoers before the store opened. So this is actually, it's a trip for the family, but it's easy to get to, 25 minutes. And we have enough there for everybody all day. We have various food outlets. We've got a whole sports field full of games and fun for the children. We've got a band entertainment area. We have live music from 11. And we have a huge 70-strong shopping paradise led by Boots, our chemist, from the high street. We have Tesco joining us this year.
Oh, excellent.
So, and Central, of course, are there also. Most of the big companies support us, which is quite nice. I think they trust us. It's a sign of trust that they happily come along, and I sort of ask them very nicely, please give me, and they're very good. But they trust us to spend the money afterwards. They know we're volunteers. There isn't any hidden agendas in Plonchit. Every penny made after we've paid the expenses, which are mostly lying on electricity and the tentage, every penny after that goes out to charities.
Well, speaking of charities, I know a lot of people they're somewhat critical. They say, don't give out money. You never want to just give money, but your philosophy is one that actually enables those you're giving it to continue.
Be self-supporting. We look for the smaller projects that will make a village or a school up country, will make it self-supporting. So we will actually give them weaving looms and we'll give them silkworms, but after that they're on their own. They have to weave the silk, resell it and refresh all their stuff. I was telling you earlier, the fish farms are very good. Fish farms where you provide the fingerlings and you provide the netting and they make them in the lakes up in Canterbury. The whole village works for this, and then they've got fish when they're through. They've got fish to sell and fish to eat. They have a pride in themselves again. They've done it themselves. And then they buy their own fish fingerlings. So we try, those projects are the most rewarding in many ways, as is building a village school, canteen, which is very popular because the whole village uses that. The children use it in the day and the adults in the evening. So those are the sort of projects. We don't give in to building funds. I'm afraid we don't pay school fees or uniforms. We like to give our money into some concrete project that will serve 2 or 3 generations to come.
Well, I think that's the best way to do it. And as you mentioned, earlier, you're allowing them to have pride in themselves.
It's the pride in themselves that's quite good. Particularly, yes.
Now the foundation, it was actually just recently, I believe in 1999, had a name change?
Yeah, we did. We used to be the United Kingdom Committee for Thai Charities, but with registration with some of our, for example, the ambassador is always our patron, and we always have somebody on from one of the big banks, Standard Chartered. They needed for the organisation to be legal with the Thai authorities. So we applied and got foundation status, but then we had to change the name.
So now you're known as the
British Community in Thailand Foundation for the Needy.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it's quite a lot to say, so we shorten it down to PCTF then. Yeah. These names are sort of allocated or they're discussed with you by the AMPOR. I would have preferred to have obviously kept the older name because of continuity, but I've grown used to BCCFM.
Now, you work quite closely also with the British Chamber of Commerce as well?
Very much. The Executive Director of the British Chamber, Mr. Watkins, is my Vice Chairman. And we keep our charitable projects slightly apart in that they do a lot more sponsorship of students, which we don't have enough money really to do on a full-time basis. So we do the individual projects and they do sponsorship and that sort of thing. But we interweave quite a lot, yeah.
You did mention you've been here for some number of years.
Yes.
I would very much like to know a little about maybe your history here in Thailand and your experiences.
My history. I came with my husband and 2 very small babies. My daughter was 9 months and my son was about 22 months. And typical of British hongs at that time, we had to follow the company rules, not to work, not to drive. Very difficult at times, but that actually got me going into joining the committee of UKCTC so that I would have something to do. The thing I've enjoyed most is that has taken me up country so often. I've been to quite a lot of projects way up in Omyai and down to Naratiwa. I've been all over in my years. My children, these big international schools were not in Thailand at that time, so unfortunately my children had to go overseas to boarding school. So that took a few years of me travelling backwards and forwards. I've done most things here. I mean, totally enjoyed my time here. I find it's ever-changing. There's always something you can become involved in. And there's several things I regret never starting. But usually I've enjoyed every year of my 34 years.
Well, I know, we run across a lot of viewers who, in a similar situation, one or both have come here for work, for whether it's a short...
for 2 years.
Yeah. For those who are kind of come here and they feel a little lost, they feel maybe a little culture shock, what could you recommend to kind of get over that, to really get comfortable here?
Well, there is, Bumrungrad ran an exhibition in September which is called Living in Thailand for New Expatriates, which is very good. But actually I think the thing to do is to travel around. There is so much you can do to help here in communities. If you're not welfare minded or help-minded. You could start activities for children. There are so many little schools on the fringes and in Bangkok where you could donate 2 days a week to reading and helping Sisters of Good Shepherd. I could name 100 of them. I don't think you really need to be bored here.
Oh, absolutely.
I personally would like to reorganize the traffic.
Oh,
I have a feeling I should approach that.
I think you'll have maybe about 60 million other people who would agree with you on that point.
Get in the queue, yes, yeah.
Actually,
And that's the only downside, and as you know, it goes in waves. Sometimes you think, where is it? What's happened to the traffic?
was there traffic when you first came here?
I first came here and lived on Sathorn, which was a little klong with greeny banks and a dual carriageway either side. And it was really quite nice. Very little traffic. There's always been traffic. It took me, I think, when we first arrived with these two very hot children, arriving out at Don Muon, it took us 4 hours to get into Ceylon Road.
Oh.
So that was my first. I thought, why have I come here? But no, it's just living in Bangkok, isn't it?
Any last little tips or advice you might give to those who are trying to acclimate to the area beyond joining in charity work? You know,
Yes,
daily living. What would you recommend for daily living? Getting around.
Getting around, SkyTrain. No, I think everybody that comes has to sit back for 3 or 4 months and be prepared to say, I'm really not too happy here. It takes you that length of time, even a little longer, to find out where you're going. That's one of the most important things, is you don't know where you're going. There's a very good magazine here which is printed by the Australians. It's a women's guide. It's a very thick book, well worth buying. It gives you out of Bangkok trips, it gives you activities to do in Bangkok. You can always ring me up and ask. Always ring and say, is there anything? But there is lots. Just give it time. And never try in Bangkok to try and achieve 2 goals in one day. 1 goal a day is generally sufficient, because you don't do 2 goals very well. You don't get any satisfaction out of doing something not well.
Sure. And
the traffic is going to beat you. It's definitely going to beat you.
Don't try to take that on.
But I could make a few adjustments.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. And once again, for those who are looking for something to do in November, absolutely, you cannot miss the Plonchit Fair.
Most definitely.
November?
Or the 24th.
24th? All
10
day.
o'clock. And we'll be there all day till 9, 10 o'clock at night.
And for those who are maybe unfamiliar with the BTS, what stop do they get off at?
Bang Na.
At the Bang Na stop. So
Bang Na
Bang Na stop, Sukhumvit line of the BTS.
Yeah, and a free shuttle bus continuous service that will go to and back to the station.
Excellent.
All day.
Makes it easy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And with lots of money. Next point. With lots of money.
And it's all going to great charities.
Every last baht will go into charities. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you.
And hopefully this will be a regular occurrence then.
Hopefully we'll see you at the fair.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll see you at the fair, but don't go away because we have a lot more coming up on So This is Thailand.
Swadika, you're watching Culturally Yours and I'm Fawn Jacobson. This week, I doubt if anybody can just stay home and do nothing because there's so much to do in the city. We're hitting off this week with the legendary Tommy Emmanuel, the famous Australian guitarist who will be playing his 3rd concert in Bangkok. We're hitting off this week with the legendary Tommy Emmanuel. The Australian guitarist will perform his 3rd concert in Bangkok. Tommy Emmanuel Live and Acoustic 2012 at the Scala Theatre on Siam Square. He is called the best guitar player by the likes of Eric Clapton and Steve Vai. Apart from great music, fans will also have a chance to meet and greet with the living legend himself. So, mark your date because Tommy Emmanuel will once again serenade Bangkok on the 28th of October. Tickets are priced from 1,000 baht to 2,500 baht. Check out for more information at dotimes.com. Now let's go and see some beautiful people. Here's a beauty pageant you won't want to miss at all.
International Queen 2011 goes to
They are stunning, beautiful, and they can put women to shame. Yes, you heard me. The contestants, the Miss International Queen 2012, are scheduled to amaze you with their talents at Aksara Theatre King Power on the 30th of October before the final round at Tiffany Show Pattaya on the 2nd of November. Don't forget to cheer Thailand's Miss Jele Panvilat and also give your support to other candidates. Glamour is the word. So that's it for Culturally Yours today. I'm Fawn Jacobson. สวัสดีค่ะ